All right, this is your creation. My name is Starseed Bey. How's everyone doing today? Hopefully this recording will go good. Last video I did, ended up cutting off the YouTube video, so not too sure what happened there. So I'll be coming and keeping a close eye on that. But today we're going to be talking about some very interesting stuff. Just kind of the observation point of view of things. It's really important to realize, that our children, if we have children or just the children that surround us at all times, they're our future. They're our future. They're being educated, right? Educated to sustain a future, whether it be from a business perception, a spiritual perception, economy perception, many different things. And we really have to really pay close attention. I mean, like even right now, we really need to be observing on how our children are being raised. But it's not just, and this is something, that we really have to observe. It's not just, it's this parents' responsibility. It is. I have 2 kids myself, but we really have to realize too is that our children have a mind of their own. They have a perception, but we as parents have to be responsible in making sure that their choices and decisions are going to be something that is going to be long term, something that's going to stick with them. At the end of the day, I mean, my 2 kids are like yin and yang. One's real calm and really relaxed, and the other one's really just she lets you know if she doesn't like something, and we really have to be aware of that, and we have to really teach the children nowadays, and this includes teenagers, young adults in their 20s, that we really have to appreciate and respect our elders, appreciate the parents, and learn from them, and I've talked about this many times before, is that we're all teenagers, we all get in that rebellious stage, and we have a choice to make, whether we want to stay rebellious or whether we want to mature in life, and it's so important right now to mature in life, to have some kind of foundation for children to look at for inspiration, for values, and things of that nature. So we're going to be talking about that. I'm already talking already. So we're going to go ahead and discuss that stuff and a lot of other things, I've been kind of observing as well. So if this is your first time watching me, I am on YouTube and Facebook. So if you watch me on YouTube, definitely like, subscribe, share out. I talk about many different things from spirituality to world events, to including subjects like this as well. Excuse me. And I'm also on Facebook at facebook.com/realtalk. Bey. Again, like the page, share it out. If you have any questions, concerns, that's definitely a place to get a hold of me on there. And I'm also on patreon.com/Starseed Bey. Still working on the site, but it is there for you guys if you want to check it out as well. So the whole reason why this video sparked, and I've been wanting to talk about this stuff and kind of been talking about it through my other videos, is that, man, just in the work environment, in schools, and things of that nature, I don't know if it's just America or not, but people have become so... Our young adults and teenagers have become so focused on technology, have become so focused on being unsocial in public and more social on phones and on the internet, where it doesn't talk back to you. And it's concerning, and the way people, and this isn't a judging video, it's just, it's an observation. We really have to just if you're ever in a public place, which I'm sure many of you guys are, whether it be a mall, public restaurant, whatever it is, just observe your surroundings. Observe how people act. Observe how people react. And realize that these teenagers and young adults are our future. Are our future, and it's something to be aware of and concerned of. Man, I met a couple good, young adults and teenagers that are really smart, educated, respect adults, and want to learn and grow in life. There's a lot of beautiful people out there, and that's why I chose that picture for this video of are you an indigo, star, or crystal child, because it really kind of gives you that different perception. There's many different versions out there, but the majority are the ones who are rebellious, who don't know how to handle things, anxiety issues, just because they're more empathic. We're learning about our empathic abilities daily. If you're on a spiritual path, you're going to be more in tune. So a lot of these kids are really in tune, and they don't know how to handle that. They don't know how to handle situations and things of that nature. And I've talked about this too with the AI thing, and it's something we really have to be really concerned about. Virtual reality is becoming a huge thing. They're already creating all of these technologies that will stimulate every part of your body. I mean, literally, you'll be hooked up to this big machine that will just stimulate you to your wireless imagination, right? And it's really concerning. It really is. I mean, if you ever watch like Sword Art Online, it's a Japanese animation, Ready Player One, and things like that. It's concerning to think, that could be the potential reality. I mean, at least that's what, from a business perception, people are trying to push. Even in like retail and things of that nature, they're trying to push for your own, for the consumers, right? For the consumers, they're trying to push for just you, you yourself, just get into the place, get what you need, don't care about nobody else, no one else, and businesses are trying to look towards not having any kind of employees as part of their business, where everybody can just use things for themselves, and that's a bad business decision. And I really want to talk about that. That's a video I'm going to make tomorrow, hopefully tomorrow. I've just been real busy with work and everything, but just from business perception, it's bad for business. You don't have employees, everybody's not going to have a job, and when you don't have a job, you can't buy stuff, and if you can't buy stuff, that hurts the economy, that hurts businesses. I mean, it's a great way. I mean, looking at AIs and stuff like that, it's a great way to try to maintain your business, because businesses, are getting at a fast speed where, sometimes humans just can't handle it. But at the end of the day, without that human interaction and things of that nature, it's going to hurt business. It's going to hurt the world. It's a bad state. So I really have to teach our kids, that they are of value, and that they do have a voice that they need to speak of. They have a voice that needs to be heard. A lot of us adults who are in our mid 30s and 40s and 50s and so on and so forth, a lot of times our voices end up getting distorted because people focus so much on the youth of things. And you can really see that with Facebook, Twitter, and on YouTube and things of that nature. You know, a lot of people are speaking their opinions and stuff. But at the end of the day, it's really a lot of people are just trying to find acceptance, trying to create that shock value. That's really what America is. You know, America, Europe, but mainly it's America. Really trying to create that persona shock value, you know, that our personality defines us. Our personality creates us. And it's not just, you know, just who you are. You know, personalities are personas, or some kind of face that you put upon yourself to generate or gain that attention. You know, our kids are so confused about sexuality. Our kids are so confused about education, where they're supposed to go, what kind of person they're supposed to be. And with YouTube and things of that, man, it's crazy, man. My daughter, she's been watching some YouTube stuff and really been having to watch what she's watching. And, you know, kids are sneaky. You know, I mean, I've been a kid, I've been a teenager. You know, if there's stuff we want to watch, check out, you know, there's ways to do that. So my daughter, she was doing the same thing, and we had to just take her tablet away. We had to say, you know, that's enough. You know, we told you time and time again not to watch this stuff. You know, and that's the cool thing about YouTube and stuff, is that it keeps a history of what you watch, so then you can observe and see what's going on. So we really have to be more mature with our kids, in that aspect of just, you know, we have to let them be themselves, but we have to set some kind of rules and boundaries. You know, and that's where America struggles, is because, you know, how do you discipline your kids? You know, how can we teach them right? It's crazy. I was watching a show, a part of a show my wife was watching. I don't know what it was, but it was about this this young kid. I think it was like 12 maybe, and he was gay, and he wanted to transform his body already. I mean, 11 or 12, man. He was wanting to get boobs and go from there. And I was like, wow, you know, that's crazy, man. You know, what allows a child to want to do that, you know? And that's, again, just kind of sparked with this video, is, you know, where does these kids come up with these crazy ideas? You know, what kind of adult or young teenager, or like older teenager, you know, put that in their heads? You know, what is making them feel they have to restructure their body? Is it a form of acceptance or whatnot? You know, I don't know, man. You really have to get into that mindset, you know, that's our children. You know, I was born in the 80s. For me, remembering stuff was in the late 80s into the 90s. 90s was a great time. I loved the 90s. You know, it was really a freedom of expression, of change, of growth, and just speaking your voice. You know, people were really, it was a mixed bag. It really was. It was kind of a mature level as well as a speaking up level of things. And then once 2000 rolled around, and really after 2001, go figure on that one, the world really changed drastically. It really did. Technology began to overtake things. So anyways, let me get back to that kid in that TV show. So the doctor was trying to say, you know, that your body's still changing and growing, and it's not good to alter your body when it's continuing to shape and develop. And the kid really got mad, upset, be like, "You're just like my parents. You don't understand what I want. You don't understand what I want or what I am." This 11, 12-year-old saying this to these adults, right? And that's not a good thing at all. It's not. And when you watch YouTube videos and talk shows and things like that, oh, we need to have our kids express themselves more, which is great. It is. But there has to be boundaries for it as well. There has to be, because otherwise our kids are going to make such drastic decisions in living in their own personas, in their own ego, that the world isn't going to matter to them. It's going to be all about them. It's going to be all about their image. Their idol is their image, right? I've talked about that before, is that our human form is the idol, is the beast. That's talked about in the Bible. And that's what people on the internet are teaching our kids, is that the body is all that matters. How your persona acts and reacts is all that matters, and that there's nothing else. That you can just walk with this ego-driven perception of things. And I'm really trying not to make this a negative thing, but it's just the majority or the masses of people, of young adults and teenagers, that's their mindset. That's the future. And on a grand scale, that's huge. I've said this time and time again. Only about 10% of the world are going to make it. So that's 90% of the world. That's a lot of people. 90% of the world are going to be those lawless ones that just focus on their ego, focus on their perceptions and their personas, and the I want to be this, I want to be that type of thing, without learning that they need to help others along the path, right? And it goes way above and beyond just accepting people. Accepting people is a great thing we have to all learn, right? Accept people for who they are. I accept people for who they are, which is fine. They choose that kind of lifestyle. That's okay. But when it has to deal with children who are still learning about life, never even had a relationship or anything, that's an issue. That's a huge one. I sit down and talk to my kids all the time, and I show them. I show them when people are acting rebellious. I show them in public. When kids are throwing a fit in stores and things like that. I show the kids. I'm like, see, you guys used to act that way. It's not. It doesn't look good. It causes a scene. It causes people to go, what is wrong with those people? Show your kids that. I did this all the time with my daughter. Is that she would complain, she would throw fits and temper tantrums trying to get her way, and I would record her. I would say, hey, I'm going to record you. I'm going to send this to grandma. I'm going to show your mom this, right? And she'd be like, yeah. And then I would just do the same thing. I would go, see, it doesn't sound good, does it? And it would just make her angry. But you have to show them what they're doing. You have to show them right from wrong. And you have to sit down with your child and find out why they want to do that, right? A lot of times there's a lot of crying, a lot of it's just a state of confusion, right? We live in the world of Babylon. The world is Babylon, and Babylon, or Babel, translates into confusion, or a state of confusion. And that's where we're at. It's a state of confusion, a state of chaos. Nobody knows what to believe in anymore, or who to trust, or how to be, or how to act, or how to react. just live in your phones, live in your computers, and just stay away from reality. Stay away from reality. And again, talking about businesses not having any employees, that's going to make people more and more and more sheltered. Back in the day, back in the 90s, a lot of gamers spent all of their time playing games, so they never got out there. And with the internet being real basic, you never talked to people online or anything, so you really were sheltered and didn't know how to handle people. So now we do have the internet and stuff, which is great. People can interact and things like that, but it's not human interaction. You're away from each other. You don't know how to handle things. And this brought into a lot of things of how would people handle some kind of distress. Somebody was yelling at you like, hey, we got to be moving, we got to go. There's a disturbance in a store, right? And you can't panic, but you got to react, or you're going to get injured, right? You're going to get injured if you're not prepared. If you just stand there and don't know what to do, if something drastic happens, a hurricane, tornado, people trying to rob a place or something like that, it catches you off guard. You don't know what to do. If you're so ego driven in your own life, you're not going to know how to handle the situation. And a lot of times people love that. They thrive off it. They're like, oh, cool, I got to record this. Other places getting robbed, right? Their life could be in jeopardy and everything like that, but they're so focused on trying to get ratings on Twitter and YouTube and Facebook. They don't know how to handle those kind of situations. And that's where we have to, as adults, be mature in that nature, and teaching our kids the right things, showing them how to react in situations and things of that nature. Ask your kids, what would you do if you're in a robbery? What would you do if you're in a fire? What would you do if a kid or adult or something puts you under peer pressure, or try to press you into something? Put your children in those situations. See how they react. What are the choices are they going to make? It's important to educate them in that. Schools should be teaching them that. They're not. Then nobody's teaching them that kind of stuff. So it's us adults that have to be mature in teaching them that. That's what the old shows from the 60s and stuff like that was all about. The best ones, though, for me, was in the 90s again. Was Boy Meets World was a good one, and Family Matters. Family Matters and Boy Meets World really had that realistic perception of what an adult is, and setting standards for your children to be respectful towards others, and that there's always some kind of consequence to the actions that you choose, whether it be a positive or negative reaction, there is going to be some kind of consequence. And that's what those shows showed, is the empowerment of the adults, the responsibility of being an adult. In America, they're trying to tell children that it's their responsibility to be themselves, to be who they are. Don't allow your parents to belittle you or make you think you're something you're not. We got to freely let our kids choose, which is fine. You just have to educate your kids. I can't say that enough. So many people don't even know where to even begin raising kids. I I myself, had to learn the same thing, learning how to raise my children, right? And it's something that you have to learn, being a parent for the first time is definitely a learning experience. A lot of times we have that mentality of, well, I don't want my kids to be raised like I was raised, so you'll go by that. Whether it's a positive or negative way, you're going to go by that. Be like, well, I was sheltered as a kid, so I want to make sure my kids aren't sheltered. Or it could just be anything, It's a learning experience with the first kid. And then when you have a second kid, you kind of already are aware of what to experience, but their personalities end up defining the situation. Like I said, my kids are yin and yang in that element. So as they grow older, you really have to just really observe and pay attention to how they handle things and whatnot. And as I get older, I mean, I've learned now, with my second child, as my first child grows up, they have a 2-year gap. I've learned from my son, and then I watch my daughter as well, and it seems to be around the 8 or 9 range when they really begin to define who they are. They really test, at least my daughter does, really test the parents on what they can get away with. And it really is a very unique experience. I mean, you really have to be a parent to really understand how children's minds work and react and everything like that. But at the end of the day, I think I want to make this video pretty short. It's just something, that not many people discuss. I mean, is this stuff going to make sense to everybody? It will if you're a parent. I mean, if you're a responsible parent, this makes sense, and we really have to keep that mentality. I mean, there's very few children, young adults, teenagers that are going to create a beautiful future, but it's going to be a small few, and we really have to have a realistic perception of things, right? If you look at the New Age perception, be like, oh, all these star children are coming in, right? They're not from Earth, which I totally agree with. There's a lot of people that aren't from Earth, but as a whole, we have to have a realistic perception, is that we live in a world that is just free to express themselves in America. But we really have to bring, like I said, we really have to bring honor back. We have to bring maturity back. We have to bring that respect your elders, respect your parents mentality. Discipline is a huge thing that we have to bring back. It's just crazy. I mean, everybody's just suing each other or getting mad at parents. Be like, you shouldn't be talking back to your kid. They need to just let them be and go from there. But you can't let your kid be rebellious. You can't. I mean, it just doesn't work that way, and we got to bring this stuff back. We really do. We need to quit having these, oh man, I don't even know where to even begin. These perceived education or teachers or psychiatrists, things like that, right? Because you make a name for yourself. You got a beautiful picture that says you've been doing this for 15, 20, 30, 40 years, right? We can't give our children to them for advice. We cannot give our children away to them. And I think that's the ultimate message right here, is that we cannot let them make the choices for us. We are adults too. We have a voice. I don't care what kind of paper you have. I mean, if it says you're like a 60 years in whatever, right? Psychiatrist, psychology, whatever it is. I don't care what that says. We have to discipline our kids. We know our kids way more than they do. And we really have to get on that personal relationship with our children. We have to sit down with them. When our kids have friends and things like that, they're going to listen to someone their age, right? Kids will talk with kids. They'll make dreams. They'll make what ifs and I wants. And they're always going to have the same conversation about, well, my parents don't listen to me. My parents don't care about me. Or, I can't wait to get out of the house. And things like that. Which is totally normal. But, you got to allow your kids to, realize that you're the adults. You can also be, best friends with your kids and friends and things like that. We just have to have that personal relationship with them. So then when you see things change in their life, when their life is changing, and people are giving them peer pressure and things of that nature, they can come to you. They have a realistic perception of life. And hopefully this video makes sense. I mean, I don't really know how else to really talk about this, but it needs to be talked about and addressed because it's crazy, man. I mean, all of these kids 5, 6, 7 years old watching YouTubers promoting lifestyles and then telling our children that you need to act this way in form of brainwashing or programming, right? I mean, some of these people are just paid to do that. Then you get into the secret services and things of that nature, right? Conspiracy stuff. But at the end of the day, you watch and observe this stuff. A lot of this stuff you can tell is staged. It is designed to confuse the children. And it's a shame on parents for allowing our kids to watch this stuff, to be around this stuff. And it's sad, that in public schools are expressing those same kind of viewpoints. I encourage private schools, and to stay away from public school because there's something not right about public school. There's just education it's terrible, man. It's terrible. Kids aren't learning anything. And they turn into these ego-driven people. Like I said, you'll find a bunch of good people within the group, but at the end of the day, it's crazy stuff. I mean, you can't even watch TV anymore, or just shows, right? I mean, cable's pretty much dead, but just any kind of TV show that's made, and it's a lot of like teeny poppy ego-driven characters with no kind of family values of any kind. Family values, again, that's lost too, and we have to bring that back as well. So really need to be educating your kids, becoming smarter, and not allowing these perceived professions, right? Like I said, psychology and things like that. Get different. If one doesn't work out, then try another one. But at the end of the day, you should have that kind of mentality if you're a parent. You should know about psychology. You should be able to sit down with your kids. You should be able to find out what's wrong. We can't always I mean, the kids are going to have to venture out in the world regardless, right? But we can't I don't know what that would be. We just have to be open with our children at the end of the day. I think that's really the ultimate thing. Kids are going to make decisions and choices. They're going to do things behind our backs. I mean, that's just part of being a kid. Um, but you know, the concerns are out there. They are, and we have to be smart about it for our children, for our future, and not shove um, different kind of perceptions down. You know, I mean, I was born in a Christian home, right? And there's always certain kind of rules or restrictions that came about that. You know, it wasn't a bad thing, but I really think a lot of times when we do a limitation of things, you know, based on a religious perception, it can hurt some of the values. So you really have to bring a realistic approach to things, and I think that's where we have to switch our mentality is a more realistic perception or a more realistic point of view of things. You know, I'm constantly teaching my kids on how to be a young adult, what to look for now, what to be prepared for the future. You know, I told my kids, I'm like, you know, you guys are gonna, as soon as you're old enough, you guys are gonna get a part-time job, whether it's just working a couple days, you know, just to get you guys to learn on how the world works. You know, I mean, we got to start from scratch. You know, we got to start from somewhere. I mean, the world can be drastically changing in a couple of years. So it's hard to say what kind of work environment they will enter into. But whatever it may be, you know, they can learn about business. They can learn about the work environment, learn how to work with each other, you know, work with other employees, learn how a boss works and things like that, saving money and things like that, creating that responsibility factor, and then talking with them saying, hey, what did you learn, and things like that. You know, when it gets tough, because I mean, as soon as your kids are 15, 16 years old, you ain't going to see them that much. You won't. They'll be hanging out with friends and girlfriends and boyfriends and all that stuff, you know, and that's where you just pray and have that secret angel take care of them at the end of the day. But yeah, we really got to bring that to light, you know, to bring family values back. You know, I have I have so many ideas that I want to present to the world. Like I said, you know, I've talked about this very briefly throughout my videos, is I want to create a school that will educate children to what they need to know about life, you know, to the fullest. Spiritual, you know, learning what a spiritual journey is right off, you know, learning about spiritual experiences, learning about psychology, learning on how to create stuff, build stuff, learning the true aspects of math, astrology, right? University, which was again learning about the stars and things of that nature. Just learning about that mature mentality of things, you know, learning about maturity, learning about respecting your elders, looking at different formats and things of that nature. Just making our children smarter and more developed, you know, developing them for the future, and not developing them for somebody else's personal gain or business, right? Because we always see, and this is, man, there's just so many things that are wrong with the world. And it's just, people need to be re-educated. You know, people are learning on that they have to forget everything they know and re-educate themselves. I've had to re-educate myself a whole bunch after 2010. I had to re-educate myself, reevaluate myself, you know, just seeing the world through new eyes, and realizing, you know, that the world is a mess. You know, the world is a mess. Learning about a spiritual journey is so very confusing for so many, because it divides it from a religious perception and from a new age perception, and you have to work between the lines between the both. And that's the ultimate thing, is learning about that, is having that kind of mentality. I mean, the maturity level, from my understanding, is something, that I never thought that I would really know or learn, with me becoming a parent and getting married and things of that nature has allowed me to grow and develop at a faster rate, just looking at things and observing things. If I didn't have kids, I couldn't really speak on what I see with the world, right? But I have kids. I sit down, I talk with them, learn how they look at life and experience things, question. I always love to question my kids on certain elements, right? Be like, hey, what are your thoughts on the Bible and things like that, And my son, he's really open that, that he's wanting to learn, he's wanting to understand me more, right? He's wanting to create a bond with his father, which is awesome. So you really have to look at that. You have to really realize, that your kids are going to look up to you. Sometimes they may not express it all the way, but they do look up to you, and they'll create that bond. And same with my daughter. My daughter, she's more of a very independent person, where she knows what she wants. She lets you know what she wants, and she'll push you to the limit. So you really have to be open, firm with her, and just let her know, that you're an adult as well. Is that you have to listen to adults. You can't just always be rebellious, or it's going to bite you in the butt at the end of the day, right? And my kids are great, man. They really are. I mean, they have their moments, and all kids will. At the end of the day, that's creating that personal relationship with your children, understanding them more, and letting them be ready for the world. Because the world's crazy. I mean, it's just flat out crazy, man. These kids who were in public school and stuff, they're, like I said, just a small amount are really smart and educated and ready, but just the majority of them are just so driven on ego, so driven on people's acceptance of them. They have to work so hard for acceptance. They have to work so hard for relationships. They have to work so hard for all these things. These people are getting married, and then they're getting divorced a month later. They get pregnant, and then they don't know who the father is, or the father stays for a little while and then leaves, and it's just a mess. It's just a mess, right? People make mistakes. We're not perfect, but man, if we had that kind of education for the children at an early age, at least they would have that kind of mentality or that kind of mindset, and that at the end of the day is where, I'm really wanting to make some kind of school to re-educate these people, to get these children ready for the future in a whole new way. I've been brainstorming this stuff, trying to figure out how to talk with other people about this kind of stuff. My mind is always on. I'm always thinking, I'm always observing, I'm always trying to figure out new ways and how to improve upon people's lives. That's what I'm all about, is finding and creating the best version of you. But you have to have that mentality. You have to have that will and intent to change your life, to change your way. If you're just woe is me, life isn't good, kind of perception, that's kind of life you're going to have. But if you're creating that balanced life, you're having that spiritual experience and spiritual encounters and things of that nature going within the I am, and stuff like that, then you can create balance, find strength within yourself and hope, and just try to get yourself on the right track in life, and that's what I'm all about, is figuring out and finding that best version of you. And we have to do that with our kids too. And you just have to sit down, talk with people. Man, you're in the work environment, talk with people, try to find their kind of mentality. What's going on. Even businesses, corporate businesses, they have to rechange their whole strategy and how they do things too. At the end of the day, it's going to end up being taking care of the people. Taking care of the people. At the end of the day, it's going to end up eventually being where money is a thing of the past. Becoming rich is a thing of the past. A lot of people are going to laugh about that, but it's true. Being rich and things like that is not going to matter anymore. It's what is going to matter from a business perception is the people. Is bringing that discipline, maturity, perception as well into the business environment, educating people in a whole new way, not a military structure way. Man, I hate the military structure way of thinking. It's messed up, having that kind of mentality, that military mentality, that army mentality of, I'm your sergeant, you need to listen and obey, you were just a tool in the army. And so on and so forth. Don't question authority. Don't question my judgment. You just do what I tell you. And that's it, mentality. I hate that mentality, man. And, and that's what school teaches you too, is the very same thing. Is that military structure mentality. Businesses will do the same thing. Is that military structure mentality. We have to change that. I mean, businesses are going to fail. Just a lot of things will fail with that kind of mentality. The world's going to fail drastically if we don't help teenagers, or if teenagers and young adults don't change their mindset now. It's going to hurt everybody at the end of the day. So that's pretty much, I think it's kind of more of a rant video, but at the end of the day, we really have to just be more observant of the youth. Find ways in how to talk with youth. Create a new structure and a viewpoint for the youth as well. Creating that different perception of life, and ask them questions. I love asking people questions. Why do you think like this? What is your mentality on this? How do you view the internet? Same with people who are gay or lesbian. I'll ask them questions too. That's their choice, that's their lifestyle. Accept them for who they are. But you can ask questions. Why do they have that mentality? What led them there? What guided them there? Learn and observe. And it's good for them too, because a lot of times people who have those kind of lifestyles, they keep that hidden. They have to find that way of being accepted. Are they going to be accepted? Are they going to be judged? Things that level. They have that level of mentality. So if you can be open with them, listen to their perceptions and things like that, they actually begin to feel better about themselves, and then they will actually start to explore their lives of why they're making those choices, why they're making those decisions in their life. Just have to talk with people, get that kind of mentality. People complaining at work, find out why they're complaining at work. Sit down, find their mentality of things. Why are people getting frustrated and things of that nature. Sit down and talk with them. Don't just let people walk over you, or just don't let someone complain all the time. Ask them, say, hey, why do you think this way? Why do you feel this way? How can we change this way of life? We have to get some kind of solution. And we're really right now in that kind of mentality of we're changing things. The old paradigm or the old way of thinking and structure of the world that we are used to, the elite structure, is crumbling, and we're building a new mentality of things, right? From a spiritual level, a physical level, a mature level of the mind, learning more about the body and things of that nature. We're reaching those kind of potentials for the world, and we really have to have that kind of mentality of maturity. We're not perfect. We never will be. We got to create sense of humor as well in these things, right? Because sometimes this stuff gets serious. Sometimes this stuff don't make sense. I know this video is going to make sense for a lot of people, but it's going to make sense it's going to make sense for those who need to listen to this video. And we have to be more observant. Again, I can't say that enough. We have to be observant of what's going on. Sit down and talk with youth, talk with the people. I've been really trying to think of different ways and how to do that, how to present myself out there. That's really been a huge thing for me, is, if I interview people, how can I interview them? And I'm going to give them tough questions, on things, and I'm going to love their viewpoints on things, but I don't want to feel that they can't be themselves. I'm very vocal, I'm very blunt. I'll let you know my perception on things, and at the end of the day, like I said, it's creating the best version of you, speaking up about you, but you also got to be able to have that mature level as well. You're going to have to reach that level of maturity at the end of the day as well. And that's something that we should always be asking people. There's a lot of beautiful people out there. Again, I watch True Seeker, and he really gives a realistic perception of things, and he asks the questions to his interviewers or his guests, these certain things, and see their level of mentality, see if they're telling the truth, or if they're telling a lie, right? And you can really tell the real ones from the fake ones. And I've learned a lot from True Seeker. He's at that level that I want to see a lot more people at. I've really learned a lot from him. Michael Basham is another one, that I'm learning about, and you'll begin to hear about his name too, I'm sure, as well as the future goes. But I've learned a lot about consistency about both from both of them, and just how they interview people, what they're looking for, questions they ask, and things like that. There's a whole new level of thinking that's evolving. I'm part of that evolving thinking. The observing things, learning about our empathic abilities and things of that nature. And we really have to realize is that we are speaking to the youth. We are speaking to the future generations, and we have to change their mind, their mentality, and things of that nature, to let them be aware of what their future holds for them, what the elite have planned for them, right? The elite are crumbling day by day all the time, but there still is that level of that mindset that, you know, we have to have a realistic perception of things, is that we still have an elite that run things, you know, and a new paradigm is beginning, but it's going to take time to build a kingdom out of it. So that's why it's important to make videos and podcasts and testimonies about what your perception is on things, because we're going to have to be building these kingdoms as a team. This new kingdom has to be team oriented. It can't just be one person. I can't do this stuff by myself. So I'm looking for, you guys to build things, you know, see the vision, see the future, you know, and that's probably something that I need to start talking about, is my visions and what I want to see in the world. How can we get about it? You know, and at the end of the day, it is all about teamwork, and it's all about working together. You know, that's something on a personal level for me too. And this can go entirely with this video, is, you know, trust is a huge thing for me. You know, I have a hard time trusting people, just because so many people have stabbed me in the back. They say they're your friends, and then again, they leave you. So I really have a hard time trusting people. I don't know how to an extent, I don't really know how to create that friendship bond with people. I don't know what to look for. I don't know what to look for. You know, I don't know if it's good for me just to call people on the phone and say, hey, you want to chat? Or is it better for me just to text? And things like that. You know, I'm learning that daily. It's something that I'm not used to. And with me having trust issues, I have to work on that. And I have to just listen and observe as well. You know, I have a hard time creating a personal friendship with people, just because of those trust issues. And a lot of times, you know, I have a hard time being around people who don't love themselves, You know, you can give them all the most beautiful advice that you'll ever give them. At the end of the day, they still can't learn to love themselves. So it's hard. It really is. It's hard. So I'm really trying to learn how to gain trust with others, learn how to communicate better with others as well. You know, I'm always a over observer. I overanalyze and overthink a lot of things, and that could be a good thing, and that could be a downfall in both aspects. But that's just my mentality, and we have to put that on the table too. Is that's the mentality of a lot of other people as well. With youth, young adults, and teenagers, you know, they're gonna have the same mentality. I mean, I'm sure that they've went through the same thing. You know, people can create trust issues because they'll share their heart out, and then someone will just stab them in the back, and you know, that just creates that distance. Be like, oh, I need to turn myself off. I need to shelter myself from that part, because I don't know how to handle that situation, things like that. So, you know, and that's what I'm learning. You know, I mean, I'm going into my perceived 40s, right? and not having, and still having that kind of trust issue thing isn't a healthy thing, right? You know, I know a lot of good people on the internet. You know, most of my friends that I relate with is on the internet, you know, and that, I mean, it's cool that we can communicate from beyond our surroundings, but it stinks too, because, you know, at the end of the day, you know, it's just me with these different perceptions of life, and you can't really share it out there because people have different mentalities. I really love to challenge people, but at the end of the day, you know, that's all it really is. You know, I don't really have any friends. I got a couple of people that I consider brother and sister in relationship, but you know, that's about it. You know, it's pretty much just me and my wife and kids, and then my mom and dad and my sister, and that's about it, man. You know, that's all I really have. So you know, I talk with you guys and things like that as well. So I mean, it definitely how you go about in life is going to have an effect on you in the future. So you have to learn how to handle things in different situations. Like myself, you know, I'm learning about trust, and I'm learning how to communicate with people. You know, that's where I'm at right now. So once I learn how to handle those kind of situations, it's going to develop into something more. Because, you know, to build something, you have to have a team, and to build a team, you gotta create a team, and you gotta create that trust. And when you create that trust, then you create that bond. You know, and that's what I'm going into next. You know, there's a handful of people I want to work with, but we have to gain that trust. We have to put everything down on the table and look at ways on how we're going to help change the world and help to create a new kingdom. You know, that's my mentality right now, is learning how to create that new kingdom. And it's going to take the youth to help us out with it. And it's going to take a team and a tribe to make it happen. So, you know, and maybe this is just a stepping point for me in this video as well, is that, you know, maybe I need to just start sharing my ideas, seeing who responds to these ideas, you know, and how we can create that. Because a lot of the ideas that I have, people don't think it's ever going to happen. People don't think that that's a realistic perception of things, but I say otherwise. You know, I say otherwise. So, but at the end of the day, pay attention to what your kids are doing. Listen to them, observe them, let them know, you know, that, you know, you have to be a respectful parent too as well. You have to be a respectable parent. So if you're respectable and you have good morals, you know, your will and intent is strong, and mature, then you can educate your kids and get them going on the right path. But if you're an immature parent, which a lot of us are around immature parents that shouldn't have kids in the first place, when you recognize that, you're going to end up having to be that mature role model for those kids. You know, if you have a friend that has kids and their parent is immature, then you are going to have to be that mature parent for them, that guiding light for them, to remember. So when they grow up, they'll be like, oh, hey, this Adam person told me about this stuff, told me about maturity and things like that. Maybe I should look into that stuff. So, you know, we can be parents to other kids too. I can't stress that enough, man, is that we have to speak up and help the children. You know, you see a parent that's just doing a horrible job parenting, you know, try to be there for those kids, because they're going to need that. They're going to need to learn responsibility. They can learn that, you know, not all parents are that way. You know, they need to learn on love and respect and things of that nature as well. So I'm just starting to ramble on here. This is just stuff I wanted to just express out there. I mean, this is going to be a video for just a few chosen, definitely. But at the end of the day, yeah, I mean, it's that mentality, is that we have to help the children and the youth and the young adults create a beautiful, bright future at the end of the day. So yeah, so go ahead and end on that. So love yourself, keep shining bright. Just realize that you can be an inspiration to others and yourself. Spend more time with your kids. Don't allow them just to hang out in their rooms all the time. Definitely hang out with them. Pay attention to them. See, I mean, if you if you have um, if you have both parents, basically, right? If you have both parents, then see where that bond is. You know, sometimes one child will bond with the father, the other child will bond with the mother. Work on that bonding process. You know, sometimes, you know, that bonding process doesn't always work with both kids. So just make sure that they have a parent they can go to, an uncle, an aunt, a friend's parent, you know, somebody that can help them mature in life and grow and blossom in life. You know, allow them to be themselves, but also learn about respect and responsibility as well. So yeah, so I just keep rambling on and on. You know, this definitely from the heart. You know, I want to see all these children, young adults, and whatnot have a beautiful future. But we have to create that beautiful future now before there is no future for anybody. Because if we don't have employees and things like that, the economy is going to fall, and no one's going to be able to buy stuff because they won't have money, and it's a losing situation. So we have to pave the way for the future. And I got a lot of ideas. I want to share it with you guys. But we have to create that trust and that bond to build something beautiful. And it's going to learn on how to talk with the right people too. Like I said, you know, I'm slowly learning on who to lean towards, but it's still just observing and listening to these interviews or guests as well. So quite fascinating. Definitely interesting time to be alive. But yeah, so at the end of the day, love yourself, keep shining bright, and I'll talk to you all tomorrow, hopefully. So see you guys later.